Williamson with Spectrum Fitness Productions, and we are here going to be live in a second. Looking for Ryan Milton. He is owner of TeamFFLEX from Las Vegas, Nevada, who's going to join us this weekend. Anyways, I saw that Joe Pascula joined. Hello, Joe. And yep, Ryan should be joining us any minute here. Anyways, hope everyone's doing well. Crazy times we have. Get my flower out of the way. There we are. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. I just had a meltdown here.
Oh yeah.
I could not get me up on this thing at all.
Oh yeah, these the Instagram lives, they get tough.
Anyways, first of all, I mean, I'm so thrilled that you could join us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just let everybody know just a little bit about how you started, when you started your business and when TeamFFLEX started.
Yeah, so TeamFFLEX, I mean, it's gone through a variance of names since I started, but it actually started honestly way back with my own personal weight loss journey. So I lost nearly 100 pounds, about 90 pounds back when I started this all. I was actually overweight in high school, pretty obese actually. And, I kind of started going to the gym, working out and figuring all this stuff out. And I was like, okay, cool. I got the groove. I lost some weight. I'm feeling good. I know I want to help people. So then I became a trainer from there. And, I've actually only ever worked in fitness. I started at the front desk of a gym, became a trainer. Then I started the whole online thing, because I realized, 8 hours a day in the gym, there's only so many people you can actually help. So that's kind of when TeamFFLEX really started. And, obviously we coach competitors now. We coach lifestyle type clients with everyday gym goals. And really, I went online about 5-6 years ago exclusively, and I haven't trained a client in a gym since then. And basically, we're worldwide. We got clients in all different areas of the world, all different places, doing all different things with all different goals. And really, that's kind of how it all started and what it stemmed out to be today. There's obviously a lot in between that I can't just, we'd be here all day.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you because Tarek joined us, and he just said TeamFFLEX has the best IG page. And Tarek, you're absolutely
Tarek,
right.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, well, because you and I talked earlier today. And,
Yep.
For a lot of people that don't know, I kind of now help the national office, NPC office, oversee Texas. And so, I had to learn about, first of all, like I said, doing a Facebook page, a website, and, trying to get the word out, to the Texas athletes that we do have new social media. And, like I said, you have helped me so much, just by tagging NPC USA Texas. And through this whole, crazy times we've been going through since the shutdown, you've been so good at posting, 2-3 times every day. And I think it's just such a big deal because it helps athletes just feel like we're still all part of a team, even though we can't physically be together.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Absolutely on that. I mean, the goal with all the content we do is, to support everybody. There's all these different teams, all kinds of people that don't have teams, different coaches, different competitors. But at the end of the day, we're all a family in the sport of bodybuilding. And so with that, I think it's really important that, especially as we've been going through this crazy kind of, pandemic, quarantines, no gyms, no bodybuilding shows up until very recently, that it's important we all keep the end game in mind, that we can still do what we can still train, we can still keep a goal focused. The stage is always going to be there. That's kind of what I'm always telling people is like, hey, don't rush anything. Even in a normal world, don't rush your time to get to the stage. It'll be there. Do it the right way. Enjoy the process of it and really get to, build the quality of, both personal development mentally and then the development physically that you're going to get from actually following a training program and a nutrition program and things like that. And so, through the quarantine and all that, I've tried to keep as many competitors and pretty much everybody on track with their fitness goals as I can, with the idea that, hey, you know what, right now it's been crazy. Things are going on. This is stuff that nobody's ever really dealt with, right? But what we do know is that you can keep going. We can keep going. We can keep a vision forward because even if the stage isn't today, you know, it's not yesterday, it wasn't 3 weeks ago, it'll be there in a few weeks. You know, we obviously have a show with Spectrum coming up just in a little bit here, and, you know, more shows are going to happen. Things are going to go on. And even if they weren't, right, even if all of a sudden, you know, who knows what the world's doing at this point, if they were like, well, we're going to shut things down again, we can still keep training for when they open back up. And I think that's so important to remember.
Yeah, and you know what, you're right. And I even, again, not even looking at where we are right now, you know, you've been at enough of my seminars now, and I say that all the time because, you know, this is a life. If this is really what you want, this is a lifestyle. And, you know, life happens, you know, parents, you get married, you may have children, you know, maybe all of a sudden, you know, your children are at that age where you have a lot of, you know, activities that you have to do with them and stuff. And you don't want to miss that kind of stuff. So, you know, maybe you take a year off from the competition, but you don't take a year off from the lifestyle. And right. Yes, absolutely. Because I did a seminar a couple of years ago in San Antonio, and we had a master's competitor that competed when he was, you know, end of the teenage years and stuff, early 20s, and then he got married and his son was born. And he said, my focus was my son and my family from, you know, a financial standpoint. So he took off 16 years, but he never took off from the lifestyle. Came back to Masters Nationals and got his pro card.
Yeah, that's so incredible. That's what I think it's all about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think doing as much posting as you do, and, you know, giving up, you know, athletes, you know, like little tips, because no matter how much we think we get all the information out, lots of, you know, I mean, obviously with social media, a lot of people hear it, but there's still a lot of people that sometimes don't, you know what I mean, aren't able to tune in, or, you know, don't get the information. So I'm always a big one on repeating the same kind of, you know, the same information, the same thing, you know, from everything from posing to judging to what we're looking for.
Yeah. And I think the repetition is
you froze.
So much. Okay. Are we back?
No, I think you're still frozen. But
Am
I'm
I?
here.
Uh-oh. Am I still frozen? It's showing on my side.
No, I can hear you now.
Okay,
yep,
cool. You can hear me?
All
right. Dink internets,
yep,
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's 100% true that it's a lifestyle. You know, if you're going to compete, you're competing. If you chose to compete and you're going to do this stuff, you know, pandemic or not, you got to stay on track and you got to keep going. And so, you know, that's really what's been the goal of putting this stuff out there, trying to keep people on track. I mean, I was doing quarantine workout posts for a while. And obviously all the clients that we have on TeamFFLEX, I mean, nearly every single client that we coach, between me and the other coaches, had no gym access. So we took all of our programs we already built, and we had to say, okay, now we got to do it at home. And we're doing stuff with whatever could be done. I mean, I had some clients of mine that worked on farms that they didn't have barbells, but they were lifting feed bags. You know, they're squatting horse feed to stay, you know, keep going. I had clients making barbells out of broomsticks and litter boxes. I mean, it was a crazy time, but whatever we could do to keep people on track. And I think that, you know, no matter what, that's something that I've said this to my clients a few times, actually. If it's not the fact that gyms are going to be closed, if it's not the fact, you know, maybe there's a pandemic or quarantines or things like that, there will be something else in the sport of bodybuilding and in life. You're going to encounter challenges and things that come up and unforeseen, you know, circumstances. It's crazy to think, like, back in November, December, I was sitting here like getting all my plans ready for 2020, everything I wanted to do, all these shows. Well, the whole 6 months of this year changed overnight almost, you know what I mean? And so with that, I think it's important to remember, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're in the fitness industry, period, if you got goals in life in general, you got to be flexible. You got to be adaptable. You got to be ready to deal with the changes and the turning tides. And, you know, hopefully you're going to come out on the other side of that ready to do some great things.
No, absolutely. And real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Jennifer Dory. She always tunes in. Hey, Jennifer. She always tunes in for Noelle and my, you know, Friday, IG chat. So I just wanted to say hello to her. But no, you're right. Absolutely. And I think everybody has done that. You know what I mean? You keep yourself busy. You're still living the same lifestyle, you know, and we're going to get through this. You know, I've said this about, you know, I've talked to so many different promoters all over the country, and everybody is trying so hard to make, especially we work a lot with, Tarek and Tamer for muscle contests. I mean, obviously great promoters. I've learned so much from Tamer and Tarek and stuff. But, we have to go with what the regulations are and what the rules are. And sometimes you're already, I've had promoters where they, Chris Minnis is going to do, you and I talked earlier. He has to show up in Reno coming weekend, and he just found out he can't have a live audience. And he's going to try to, he's still trying to make it work and stuff. So promoters have, they're coming up with plan A, B, and C, depending on what happens. One of the things, like you said, we talked about, because the North Cal's coming up, July 11th in obviously in the Sacramento area. And one of the things I do want to clarify for athletes, I kind of listened to the news from, Governor Newsom today, just a repeat kind of what he said on Friday. But actually, when I listened to it, even though he said, because numbers are starting to creep up in a lot of places. So, nobody wants to shut the country down again. So I think, that's why, like I said earlier, Texas and Arizona joined us with, you have to wear a mask when you're in an establishment, when you're inside. Okay. So, with California, when I listened to him again, he really said, like, it's not like, I don't think you can legally enforce it, but they really do want to see, when you're inside, especially if you can't social distance. So getting to the stage, at least when athletes are doing their individual, I do not think that's going to be an issue without a mask on. The thing is, though, they might have to just wrap it around, come up on the stage with the mask, take it off, do their individual, wrap it around their wrist, and off the stage. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be as strict as it made it sound like on Friday.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've been getting a lot of questions about, actually, so maybe we could touch on that. But it seems that really, for pretty much shows in every different kind of area, the regulations are a little bit different, right? It's not just like one thing right now that all NPC shows everybody has to wear a mask or anything like that.
No, absolutely. I think my thing is to athletes is, with the numbers kind of going up and stuff, and it's going up, you know what I mean, in a lot of the areas. So I would just be prepared. You might have to, like I said, I don't think on stage when you're doing your individuals, and at the NorCal, we had the stage all, because Kevin, obviously, and Wendy are going to come up from, Texas to do our expediting. And Kevin just reopened, I think it was a 35,000 square foot, LA Fitness. So he's very, he's very up on regulations as far as, social distancing. Yeah. Because in the end, our biggest thing is to keep obviously, we want the athletes, so to have a good time, but to be safe. And because you're going to go home to your families and stuff. 100%. So, yes. And Sky, thank you. She just said that, if she has to wear a mask on stage to compete, she's all for it. I just said everybody's going to have beautifully exotic eyes. That's what it's going to be. But it seems like, at least reading into the mandates now, I kind of think as long as you're up there, and obviously you're going to be social distanced by yourself. So I think at least your individuals, we should be fine with.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I think that honestly, masks or not, competitors will be ready to compete. I mean, we're seeing it in the comments right here, but I'm hearing it all over the place. People want to get on stage. They want to get out there. I've even talked to some bikini competitors saying, hey, you know what? Maybe you can put some rhinestones on the mask or something, match your suit. It might not be that big a deal. And honestly, that's probably a pretty cool photo, even if you have to wear it on stage, to look back on in 10, 15 years and be like, that was a crazy time.
Well, that's what we said. We said it will be like your memorable, when you go back in memories, that'll be the one that you show your children and your grandchildren. Like, this is what we went through the quarantine, and this is what your mom or your grandmother had to compete with and stuff. No, I don't think rhinestones on your mask will be too much. I know the girls are going to go. I would just go with a plain color that matches your suits. But obviously, nobody's going to get upset if somebody puts rhinestones on them, So, yeah. But like I said, I really think that on the stage individually, that we'll be fine. One thing I do want to get out there, too, with the NorCal, because we are going to add the men's classic physique is going to be later on in the year, but the IFBB, obviously Bikini Pro, we added both the 35 and the 40. because my husband goofed and he couldn't remember. So we decided we would go with both the over 35 and the over 40. And we are going to give a little bit of prize money for both of those divisions. So, and Ryan, you've been at our shows enough. So you also know the pros get really nice gift bags and stuff. So that'll still,
yeah, I'm usually handing them out, right?
Yep, that'll still take place this year. After the show might be a little different because I don't know that we can have open food. But I was contacted by Amber Steffen. She's a IFBB Pro Fitness from Texas. She actually makes their healthy cookies, but not contest cookies. So we're going to add them to all the athletes bags, both NPC and IFBB, so that you have something that's really good after the shows. You know what I mean? That are individually wrapped and stuff.
Yeah, treat.
But I've been telling trainers, please tell your athletes, so that's not like the healthy cookie before the stage.
Right? Don't eat it yet. Save it.
Yep. So like I said, I mean, promoters are trying so hard to make all this happen, in the crazy world that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it all comes back to what we were saying. It's kind of a lifestyle for everybody involved, promoter. I mean, even if you're a promoter, you're not competing. But, you're trying to make this a thing that competitors can come out and show their physiques at and their hard work, really. Because really, this is what I always talk about, too, when I'm talking to competitors. Because, competitors, to me, they always get, as a coach, I'm hearing about measurements. I'm hearing about their weight and it going up a fraction of a percentile. And, like if they missed a workout and they had to adjust it or they had to miss a set of something at the gym. And I'm like, hey, you know what? The judges, they don't know about any of this. The judges know about what's on stage that day. They don't know if you did 12-week prep, 16-week prep, if you hit your meals every day, or if you did this and that. They're judging you by what's on stage, So in a lot of ways, that's kind of the thing that, it's great that promoters like you guys are going through this, trying to figure out how we can run these shows and all this, because people, they're going through some of the toughest times in their life probably right now, trying to, just get through the world. And they're also still on prep. They're also still training. They're also trying to get there. And I think that honestly, shout out to all the competitors watching. Like, that's super admirable to be working that hard and dedicated through this whole thing. And, keep going. Keep the goal in mind. We got a show in just a few weeks with Spectrum, obviously, but other shows are going to happen. We're going to get through it, and we're going to come out on the other side.
No, I totally agree. And you're right, though. It was funny because I was asked to do a couple Zoom workshops. And, like you said, I've learned a lot about, social media during these last couple of months, but I had never been a part of a Zoom, the Zoom platform. So I obviously, volunteered, sure. And I was amazed at the amount of athletes that, offered to do, to demonstrate the posing and stuff in all the divisions, yeah. But also the condition, they all looked, Sky Lanier, Skylar's definitely one. She was one of the ones that posed for one of the Zoom platforms that I did. And everybody looked like they were so close to getting ready to get on stage. Right. And yeah, I was just impressed by how good everyone really, really looked. So I said, I know the gyms are closed, but these athletes are staying focused, anyway.
Yeah. And I think that honestly, that is a huge learning point of all this, like when we look back, I mean, we're in it right now. So it's, it's confusing and it's all these different things to a lot of people. But I think at the end of the day, what we're going to learn is that we all have become better going through this experience, because I can tell you guys as a coach, having to take all of our client base and then come up with these home workouts. And now everybody's going back to the gym, change them all back to the gym. I've worked more in the past, like 4 or 5 months. I swear. I thought I was working really hard before, like last year and the year before, like, oh, I'm doing all this time. I did 3 years of work in these past 3 months, I swear. And, I know that everybody who's training at home and doing all this stuff, they're all doing the same thing because they don't have their equipment. They don't have this and that, but we're making it work. And I think at the end of the day, we're learning things right now that we can take, out of quarantine, out of the pandemic, whenever all this is over, and, move forward with, new information, new ideas, and honestly, more development, physically, mentally, all around. Because, I know a lot of my clients, when I started, were very concerned. Oh no, I don't have the gym. I'm going to lose all the progress I've made in the past 5 years. And, I was telling them, no, it's okay. We'll do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be just fine. We'll preserve, we'll stay on top. And, they didn't believe me. And then after, 3 months of quarantine now, they're coming out, they look better than when they went in. And so, what really changed there? Nothing. The mindset is everything.
Oh, absolutely. If you're determined to do something and you have the right mindset, you can almost do anything that you know what I mean, that you put your mind, your mind to. Hands down, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously just talking about the shows because, they're also, like you said, our NorCal's coming up. So I think athletes just have to be prepared that when they go to the shows, again, depending, where the show is, some of the, the regulations are going to be a little bit different. I was talking to Trey Bennett today. He's going to do our first national show at the end of August. And right now, he said the athletes on stage won't have to wear masks, but audiences. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's going to be a little bit different. But I also want to tell athletes, if you don't feel comfortable and you feel more comfortable with a mask, please do not worry about it. Please wear the mask. None of us know who you're going home with. You might have an elderly parent or grandparent or, a family member that lives with you, or you might have really young children that you're really nervous about. Yeah. So the mask will never play a part in the judging.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to ask. People have been asking me that, and I'm like, I don't know the last time that, I was at one of your seminars once, and somebody asked about heels, asked about the heels. And I remember you saying that there was a show you judged where you realized somebody didn't even have the right heels or something like that. They were wearing like a normal colored heel, but you guys didn't notice because you're not looking at their feet, right? And so that was a big thing for me to say, oh, okay, this is what competitors do. This is what even us coaches do. We get so in our minds about all these little details, but at the end of the day, the mask or not, that's never going to be a make or break on a placing. I mean, especially in a world like, you could probably wear a mask on stage even if there was no pandemic last year, and it wouldn't affect your judging. You know what I mean? So.
No. And I tell, athletes all the time, again, because now I date myself, but when Natalia Mello, she was one of our first top IFBB pro bikini girls, and I saw her at the Fort Lauderdale show, and then, at the NPC show when she was trying to qualify, and she came out with just off the rack suit, string, was tied on the side, strings hanging down, and, and obviously won the whole show and went on then to get her, her pro card and win multiple IFBB shows. Because it really comes down to your physique. It really does. And I think sometimes, especially women, we get too focused sometimes on the type of heel or how many rhinestones are on my suit, or, I have to have a different suit for, each shows. And,
right.
You don't have to. Those, I think it's, take care of yourself and your family. As long as you're living the lifestyle, you're going to do fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think also too, since we're talking about shows and all that, feedback is such an important thing that everybody should be getting. I know you guys have talked in the Spectrum chats about how people can even get feedback now, but I mean, that is something that I want to say that people should be reserved about the feedback they hear. Okay. Meaning like they should get the feedback from the judges, or really the NPC organization, right? Not necessarily your friend, not your best prepping buddy, not, a lot of these different places you can get feedback on social media these days. I mean, it's crazy to see the amount of people that have feedback on people's physiques and comments on Instagram when they have no idea what they're talking about. And so, at the end of the day, you got to get your feedback from the judges. And I think that's so important because it really lets you grow through each stage. And I think competitors get in their head thinking that every single show they show up to, they should be winning. They should be doing this and that. Yeah, that should always be your goal. Do your best, be your best, become your best. And that's the same coming out of quarantine. But be prepared, if somebody does better than you, that's okay. Get your feedback, go to another show, do it again. Bodybuilding is like the greatest sport on earth, I've always said, because it's a sport that has no end game. It doesn't have like, a Super Bowl and then we're off. Super Bowl happens in bodybuilding, Olympia and all that, but you're back on track the next day. You got to get ready for the next year, the next season. And I mean, if you really live this sport to every level that the NPC has put in for you, true novice to open to nationals to pro cards to pro shows, you could do this for the rest of your life. So, I mean, you got to look at everything in the big process. And I know a lot of competitors are concerned coming out of quarantine that, You know, their physique's not going to be good. They're not going to be in a good spot. People are going to be better. Get on stage. Get out there. Have a good time. You've earned it. You've worked for it. And no matter what happens, you're going to go back the next day and do more, get better, and do it again.
Well, you know what? Right. And you're absolutely right. Again, I say this all the time because girls will say to me, like people are worried. Well, for example, this is again a long time ago with bodybuilding, but I had a girl at junior nationals. This is when we didn't give pro cards at junior nationals, and she got second in her class, and she came up to me. It was Gail Moore, and Gail came up to me afterwards and said, what does she need to do? It was the best I'd ever seen her. She could not have done anything different. And so she said to me, well, then there's no sense me coming to nationals, because that's where only place she could have got her pro card at the time. She said, because so-and-so is going to beat me at nationals. And I looked at her and I went, well, so-and-so's, first of all, only going to beat you if so-and-so comes. If she's in the same condition, because she was in phenomenal condition for herself, I said, so you have no idea who's going to show up to nationals. Right. Why would you bring that? And she did. She brought that same body to nationals. The other girl, I don't even remember if she was even there. She won, got her pro card, and went on to have a great IFBB career. I always say, don't compete for who you might see on stage. Compete to make yourself the best.
Yeah.
Because, I do this all the time. I mean, when you look at, like I said, in my seminars, you see that, Ryan. I show the top, 8 or top 6, whatever the first call out is from the Olympia. There are 5 and 6 different types of structures and physiques. Yet those girls or those guys are all the first call out because they just look amazing on their own structure. You know what I mean? And so it's getting your body. You don't have to be as, maybe as thick as one girl or as thin as the other girl. You just need to be the best on your physique. That's what it takes.
Yeah. And I think social media has, honestly, as good as it is that like right now, me and you can be talking and people are getting info. There's been a lot of bad stuff that comes with social media too in the bodybuilding world. People searching every hashtag for their show. I know anybody watching has done this, where like, oh, I'm doing NorCal. Click the NorCal hashtag, see who else is hashtagged it, try to guess who might be in your class. I mean, the amount of stuff that goes on social media wise, looking at well-angled pictures and filters and all these other things that get in competitors' heads, this is like what I said earlier. It doesn't matter about any of that. What matters is what shows up on competition day. And literally you have no idea who will be there. I mean, you can kind of guess. You might know a few people, but people drop out of shows last minute. Other people show up that don't have Instagram. It's just it's a mentally, the most personal development type sport you can be in because you literally have to face yourself every day and any negative self-talk you have, like, oh, she's better than me, he's better than me. You got to learn to beat that down and go to the gym anyway and start training and stay on track and look how you can do better. The sport of bodybuilding, as much as there's comparisons on stage and all that, this is not about comparing yourself. It's about being your best self because when you are your best self, that's when you don't have to compare to anyone else.
Oh, absolutely. And, I have another example too, because somebody was showing me, again, this is just a couple of years ago with Jeremy Buendia, right before, like maybe a couple of weeks, probably was at our August show, was showing me pictures that, Jeremy had posted online and they said, he looks big like a bodybuilder. And I said, if that's what he looks like, he's not going to do well. That looked huge. He looked like a bodybuilder. Right. Of course, he came to the Olympia and he looked nothing like that because it was a selfie that he took in the gym, all pumped up, you know what I mean, and stuff. He was like, I think at that year he was like 5 pounds bigger than he was the year before. So, but you had other guys showing up a lot bigger because they thought they were chasing what they saw on Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you really sometimes have to put Instagram, like get some of that stuff out of your head.
Yeah, 100%. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes that you said actually in our interview we did last year, that too many athletes get photo ready, okay? They get photo ready, not stage ready. They're getting photo ready. And this actually goes even to their own photos because I think a lot of competitors don't understand how the actual photos look different than what you see at the table.
Oh, absolutely. Ryan, I say that all the time because like I said, this was, again, just a couple of years ago, an athlete had emailed me after the New York Pro figure. but she had emailed me, not like right after, but later on. Well, it was like only the week or two before Tampa. And with the US coming off the USA, I had so many emails at the time, I didn't get back to her in time. And so I judged her then at Tampa. If I would have, responded back to her before Tampa, I would have said to her, okay, I always say this, I'm looking at photos. You look like you're almost too big for figure. I think you need to tone it down. When I saw her in person in Tampa, I said to her afterwards, you need a little bit more muscle.
Right.
Because the photos from the first show just made her look a lot thicker than she was. And when I saw her in person, she was not at that level of development. She actually needed a little bit, more development, because photographers, depending on what angle they're sitting at, the height, because, most of the stages for a big part are a certain, I think they're 4 feet, but sometimes you'll get a 5-foot stage, sometimes you get a fit stage, like at the Pittsburgh, it's a much lower stage. And so it depends where that, photographers sitting, and photographers want you to buy pictures too, so sometimes some of them use filters and stuff, and they make you look a little bit better than you actually did to the judges. So it's just, I always tell athletes, you do want to look ahead at some of the shows, if you're going to get ready for like the Junior USA or whatever the show it is, even though the NorCal, okay, what did the athletes look like last year? Like, where do I need to kind of get myself to be, so that I kind of fit in that quality. But you just can't get that focused that you're chasing that photo, that picture.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of comes full circle, back to getting on stage. That's the best way to actually develop as a competitor, is to actually compete. I mean, it's kind of funny when we say it, but I mean, from a coach's perspective, I know so many, like when I take on new athletes sometime, I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, I want to compete. I want to do bikini. I'm like, cool. Have you done bikini before? No, but I wanted to for 4 years. What? What have you been doing this whole time? What do you mean 4 years? It takes 12-week prep if you have enough muscle to at least do a novice class or something. But, they get in their head because they see all the pros and they see everybody who's better, and they say, oh, I have to be like, Miss Olympia to be able to go do a true novice bikini show somewhere. No, you got to get on stage and you got to get your feedback. That's the only way that you're going to develop as a competitor. I mean, most pro bodybuilders, and any IFBB pro has been competing for a long time and done that exact process where they've gone, feedback and again, and feedback and again, and feedback and again to get where they are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't think athletes sometimes realize like how much you learn once you start stepping on stage. And every show, you're going to take something back that's going to help you and going to, increase your own knowledge of what you need, of what you need to do. I will say, most people know that I try to do feedback really, for anybody that contacts me. And I always usually stay, after the show, especially in a normal year when, the shows, like the big shows, you're going to another show in 2 weeks, type thing. But I will say with learning all this social media stuff, I said to Tyler, I will never complain about doing emails again. I loved it when I just had to do emails.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole different world now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I need to put like a piece of paper. I can't stand looking at, that's why I do like the Zoom platform a little bit better. Only with Zoom, it's like you're just this little picture down at the bottom and everybody else is big. That's right. So much better. So much better.
You're doing great, Sandy, and we all appreciate it so much. I want to say that. I know everybody could, agree. We appreciate everything that you guys are doing to, get out here and get us the information. For me, too. I'm sitting here learning from you right now. This is like one of my favorite things to do. So normally I would already sat in on 3-4 year seminars by this time of year, but that's all right because we're here now doing it live. So thank you again for doing it.
Oh, my God. Absolutely. And we're still, we're still going to do the seminars, at the shows. Some things obviously are going to be a little bit different. Because we already have pros that, are offering to come, and help at the shows. Alexandria Ross will be at the North Cal. So will Ashley Brown from, Jamie DeBernard from Fit Body Fusion and stuff. But it's probably not going to be any hand touch, body touching. like they'll kind of, we'll all help with like, this is what you need to try to do. This is how you need to try to pose. But nobody's, normally will kind of turn your shoulders a little bit, you know what I mean? Do some hands on. And that part, obviously I think is going to have to take, a back seat, this year, so, but you know what, we'll all make it, we'll make it work. Like I said, even at the NorCal, it's going to be a little different because, again, as it gets closer and we have final numbers, but right now we're going to do 2 prejudgings because we only are probably only allowed like maybe 180 total, you know what I mean? Because I think we're allowed 230, but till you, count, and that doesn't count out, but till you count your vendors, you know what I mean, and your officials and stuff, and your crew, you're probably gonna have 180 seats that we can sell. And so we're gonna do 2 prejudgings. We're gonna do NPC men first, and then clear the auditorium because we have to disinfect, and then and there'll be like probably like a half-hour downtime, and then start with the IFBB Pro, and then, start with the NPC for the prejudging, and then followed by the IFBB Pro bikini. And then again, obviously, clear the auditorium. And then when they come back in the evening, we're going to start with the IFBB Pros are going to open the show, followed with the men. And then the same thing though, it's going to be 2 finals. So we're have to clear the auditorium again, because some people just want to come and see, most families want to come and see their daughter or son, you know what I mean? So they're willing to come and then, only stay for part of, the 1 prejudging or the 1 finals. And then that way we can get more of, athletes, friends and families, in the venue that way, and this is going to be everywhere. I just talked to Trey Bennett this year with the Junior USA. And like I said, he thinks that the audience at this point looks like they might have to, but he changed the format for the Junior USA. It's going to be 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, prejudging and finals for your day. And athletes like that because, Gary Udit started that with the Masters Nationals of North America. Yes. And well, this way athletes can come in, they could wait, check in the day before, do their show. And again, depending if you drove in and stuff, because, the Northeast, the East Coast is very good for driving. I come from outside Philly. Driving down to Florida was like nothing for us for vacation. So athletes are the same, the same way like that. So if athletes don't want to stay, they don't even have to stay, they would be able to drive back to wherever they, to wherever they live right after the finals on, that each night. And Saturday, the final day, they're actually going to start finals early at 3 p.m. so that, athletes, a lot of athletes will be able to leave, even on Saturday.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that that's important to, just touch on real fast is I know a lot of people, as things are surging up, people are getting worried about competing. People are getting worried that, they shouldn't go compete, or is it going to be clean enough? Is it going to be safe enough? Is their show going to get canceled? Well, what I want to say, is I know you guys, I know as promoters, I know a lot of different promoters, and all that I've heard from everybody is like the insane measures, honestly, that you guys are taking to make it as safe as possible. It sounds like, honestly, that it's safer to go compete with you guys than it is to go to the grocery store. So, in a lot of ways, they're doing as much as can be done, and then some, it seems like everybody around the whole organization. And so that's huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you and I talked earlier, I just bought 4 touchless thermometers so that, athletes will have their temperature taken. The audience will have their temperature taken. You know what I mean? Like I said, they're going to, sanitize the seats and stuff in between the, each of the sessions and stuff. And, our staff will all have masks on. And this will be a lot when you go to check-ins. They're going to be wiping down, the scale or the stick in between, each athlete. We're going to have hand sanitizers. Like if you go to, if you're going to do an entry or something, or you're going to buy an NPC card, whoever's doing it, they'll be, because sometimes people get caught up on the glove thing, but, studies show, especially from being in our studies show that the hand sanitizing and hand washing is much better. So I already bought 6 or 7, even though the venue is going to have sanitizing stations, galore. We're going to have our own at any of the tables so that if, one of our staff interacts with an athlete or, whoever, then there's hand sanitizers for them to use before they, interact with the next person. You know, so yeah, you know, we're taking, you know, all the precautions we can because we want, I mean, we want to keep it safe, but we also want to give everybody that comfortability that, you
Yeah.
know, that we're doing the best we can. Yep.
I love it. That's great. I think that's so important for everybody. And I don't think anybody could be doing any better. I mean, shows haven't really started that much yet, just a little bit. But I think that, you know, as it goes, no matter what happens, regulations change, governments change things, whatever, you know, everybody's going to adapt. This is what bodybuilding is. This is what promoters do. This is what bodybuilders do, competitors do. Anybody is doing. And I should say, whenever I say bodybuilder, I'm talking about every division.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about, you know, male bodybuilding. I'm talking about every division, bikini, wellness, all that. You know, this is what we do. We adapt, we overcome, we keep moving forward. If shows don't happen, we train through quarantine. If shows do happen, we show up, we compete. I mean, that's what's going to be done this year. And I think, you know, it's a crazy time, but we're all getting through it. Everybody's going to be able to get through it. One thing that I've been saying that I think everybody should still be doing is just check in on your friends, your family, your acquaintances. Send them an extra text every now and then. See how they're doing, because some people, you know, obviously, as we're just talking about bodybuilding right now, we're not talking about the full spectrum of people that are laid off or still in quarantine. I mean, there's a lot of people that are still in quarantine too. I still have clients that don't have gyms and things like that. So it's a good time to also check in on your friends and your family and acquaintances, maybe people you competed with 5 years ago or something that you follow on Instagram, and just for a mental health check, see how they're doing, check in, see what you can be doing. I mean, I'm doing as much of this as I can, obviously, and anybody knows they can reach out to me anytime, but I think it's so important to do that, and also addition to, you know, looking forward and all these other things going on.
No, no, absolutely. You know, because you do read, I was just reading a story, you know, earlier about, you know, how much mental health, you know, health issues have come up because people have to be quarantined. They couldn't like go to their, you know, like a lot of people will go to like meetings and, you know, like you know what I mean? And different meetings and stuff. Yeah. And they couldn't. And, you know, if you don't have family or somebody that you can interact with, it can place such a hardship on your, you know, on your mental stability and stuff. I did see though that somebody just said about tanning our hands. I will tell you, this is me. I did not think about, I mean, obviously I knew when athletes got tanned that they didn't take a shower, obviously, before the show. I never thought about the hand thing. But I will tell you, I know a lot of the tanning companies, in fact, I'm going to talk to Tan Masters because Tan Masters is our company, but a lot of them are actually not going to tan their hands, and they're going to actually blend their hands before you get on stage. Because we need you to keep washing and using hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From Friday to Saturday. So, and, you know, and that's going to be shows, even though maybe, you know, I mean, hopefully that we get, you know, competitors, but even if the shows are a little bit, smaller, it still might go a little bit longer, only because we are going to have, to have to take some time so that, you know, maybe it'll take a little longer so that they can get the hands, you know, blended before they get on stage. So, you know, like I said, I think the biggest thing is you're going to have to come prepared and just know that it's probably not going to be business as usual. It's just going to, you know, it's kind of, as an athlete, you kind of just have to learn, you have to go with the flow. One thing I do want to say too is that, again, the processes at some of the, the venues are going to change just because what the local regulations are. I think the one thing though that promoters just have no control over, just like I said earlier with Chris finding out that he couldn't have his audience a week and a half or 2 weeks out. Because I oversee Texas, and I've had promoters at the last minute, their venue canceled on them, even though Texas is a little bit less strict, obviously, than California is, but venues themselves are going through a hard time because they're they're businesses too.
Right.
And so a lot of them are having problems. You know, some of them have already gone bankrupt. So we don't, you know what I mean? So promoters are trying to deal with, some promoters are trying to deal with things getting canceled a couple weeks out and trying to look for new venues and stuff. And sometimes it's just not possible in this, in this climate.
Right. Yeah. The good news is, though, even if that happens, there's still more shows down the line. You just got to keep looking forward. You just got to keep moving forward. I feel like a broken record, but, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I think that's great.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's just kind of been hard on, on everybody this year. But, like you said, we all right now, I mean, you and I sitting here, we have our health. Obviously, everybody, texting and making comments have their health. And we have so much to be thankful. I will say, too, at least because I told you I flew back east to see my family
Yeah.
2 weeks ago and stuff. So that was my first flight, since I came back from Arnold's and stuff. And even with all the other craziness going on in the world, the political stuff, I will say, like, what I saw on planes and what some of the people, like, I talked to, like, Bernadette Galvin from Laredo. She has 3 gyms down there. She said it's amazing. Like, people are being so much more polite and, like, conscious of the other person. That portion you'd like to say, oh, let's take that and keep that part going.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I've said about my own gym here in Vegas. Our gyms just opened back up in Vegas like a week ago. And I said, every gym in Vegas or anywhere probably in the world right now is cleaner than it has ever been because people are actually cleaning their stuff. They're actually washing things. They got staff. Because, gyms notoriously were one of probably the dirtiest places. But now everybody wants them so bad. I think that they're taking extra measures to make sure it doesn't close down. It's probably the cleanest place you can go these days. And I think that's expanding everywhere. So I think that's, probably a good thing no matter pandemic or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because even when like I said, when I got on the plane a couple weeks ago, some guy had, like hand wipes. And I saw him offer it to the girl next to him and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's kind of how we were after 9/11. So I hope that part that we, just thinking about being conscious, being respectful of those other people. And, I just think that part I'd like to, hopefully see continue and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to say about you and your business? Like I said, Spectrum, we're so thrilled to have you, as our premier sponsor and stuff this year. And, love having you at our seminars and stuff. Because that's another thing too. I learned from all of you. I tell people all the time, I'm not a posing coach. I've never been a trainer. None of this was around when I competed. I learned from magazines. So I listen to you and Jamie and Kim and Damien all the time when I hear you giving feedback or, talking to your athletes and stuff. So it's, even though I know you say you've learned from me, it's a two-way street and stuff. So anything that you want to say, like, to your athletes or to, potential athletes out there or.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the best thing to really iterate is that no matter what, you got to stay going. I'm saying this for everybody. I'm not just talking about people I would want to coach or anything like that. As I said earlier in the beginning of this chat, that, the sport of bodybuilding, it's a family sport. That's like, I don't know how else to say it. When you're a bodybuilder, you know that everybody else that showed up is going through the same tough stuff. They did the same hard things. It's like we become a community without actually knowing each other. And I think that that's a huge thing right now that's so important. And I just want to say to anybody, out there, the best thing you can do right now is just keep moving forward. Keep your vision focused forward. Keep your goals going forward and train, figure things out. If you need help with anything, your nutrition, your training, you're on quarantine somewhere right now in a barn, held up in a cabin in the woods, and you don't know how to do your workouts, go to my website, okay? Because we do a free opportunity for coaching. It's a free trial where me and my coaches, we got several of them in this chat even, we'll set you up free for 7 days on our program to really help you out. And that's really why we do it. I've done this since I started. You won't see a lot of that in any part of any business in the world these days where people are giving free stuff out. But that's what I've really always wanted to do, and it's to benefit people, to help people. Because at the end of the day, if we help a competitor that's way over here and someday maybe they show up on stage competing, it just raises the quality of everything, right? It makes the sport better. It makes the community better. It makes everybody better if we can all figure out how to get better. And so if we round circled this whole conversation about how you're saying you learned from me and I learned from you and we learned from that guy and we learned from this girl and, all the competitors, that's what makes bodybuilding the greatest sport on earth.
Absolutely. And, and to, like, just to kind of sum up too, Spectrum is very fortunate, because we have such great, people that, sponsor our shows with you and with Damian Whitney from Pro Physiques, you know what I mean? And Kim Odo and Jamie DeBernard and you know, Ryan Benson has been around before and stuff. And what's nice is you all help each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've seen, you know, Kim at a show where, you know, Ryan Benson wasn't there. And I've seen Kim, you know, helping his athlete and stuff, or helping somebody else backstage, you know, that he's not coaching and stuff. And I think that's what also too, sometimes I think makes the Spectrum shows really good, is that all of yous too, you know, we're fortunate with so many. I mean, we have Michelle, I mean, there's just so many trainers, I can't, but I mean, you know, teams that, and yous all do help each other, and you know what I mean, and get along and stuff. And I think athletes, you know, athletes see that. They see that camaraderie and stuff. And I just think it makes the atmosphere at the shows just so, it just takes it to a different level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that that's the end game message. You know, it's like a lot of times as competitors, we think about competing against other people, and, you know, coaches could do the same thing. Teams could do the same thing. Even promoters could do the same thing. Who's got the bigger show? Who's got the better show? But at the end of the day, it's about, like we said earlier, being your best self. Do your best with what you can, where you focus on you. That's it. That is what I've always said. Bodybuilding is like the most selfish sport, but it's also the most selfless sport, because when you actually focus on becoming better for yourself, and you do get to new heights, you do maybe not go out with your friends for drinks one night because you're on prep, and you do get better, and you know, you do all these things. You set a standard for the people in your life. When you become physically and mentally better from doing preps and bodybuilding and living this lifestyle, you become a new type of icon, basically, for your friends, your family, your followers, and you might motivate somebody to do something. The amount of, even just in my career as a trainer, the amount of posts that I've put up, that, you know, I've put up a post and I've never talked to this person, they'll message me 2 years later and be like, that post made me get off the couch and take a walk, that turned into me being able to go to the gym, and then I lost 50 pounds, and I get posts like that all the time. So, I mean, that's just not me, that's everybody. When you are out there speaking the message, when you are living the lifestyle, when you are doing things that people don't seem, you know, in their mind watching that are possible, and then it makes it possible for them, then they change their life, and the circle just continues out, spirals out, goes further, and the world becomes a better place.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what, because I tell, you know, again, because you've heard me, I tell women that all the time. I always say to them, you are such a role model, obviously first foremost for your children, and then your family and stuff. I said, even if, you know, in your mind, you don't end up placing or doing as well as, you know what I mean? There are so many, first of all, there's so many other women that would give their eye teeth just to be wherever you were at that point. But the biggest thing is the role model that you're for your children, especially in a country where we have over 50% obesity and type 2, you know, we're seeing I mean, when I got into nursing, type 2 diabetes I'm going to really make myself old here. It wasn't even around. I mean, it wasn't as a known disease yet. Right. And as our weight increased as a, you know, as a culture, obviously now you saw it a lot in, you know, in older people, because you get heavier as you get older, but now we're seeing it in the young kids, in the teenagers, in the grade schools. And so if nothing else, you know, all our athletes are such role models to you know, to their kids, to, you know, to their children's, you know, their kids' friends and stuff, and to the people around you. Yep, absolutely. Yes. Yep. Yeah. I had no idea what we were going to talk about, Ryan. And no. And I'm thinking, I hope this lasts more than 15 minutes. And we're going to have to say goodbye, because I've learned with Instagram, it's going to shut us off at exactly an hour.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
Oh yeah. Noelle and I found that out the first time. All of a sudden, her and I were talking. We were gone. We couldn't even say goodbye to people. Neither of us knew that. But again, Ryan, I can't, from TeamFFLEX, I can't thank you enough. Hopefully we're going to see you in 2 weeks. I'm so happy. I can't believe that we're finally going to get together at the NorCal. Yep. Yes. But for athletes that are coming to the NorCal, please watch the website, because in case, you know, that they change the schedule a little bit, you know what I mean, and stuff, as we get, you know, closer to with the numbers and stuff. And again, anybody can, obviously you said, can always message and reach out to you if they need any help. And same thing, you know, with me. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Sandy, first off, for having me on here. Appreciate you guys. Super excited for all the shows we got this year. And then thanks to everybody who tuned in and all of you that didn't and will watch it after. We appreciate it so much.
Yes,
Seriously,
yeah.
I
Now,
appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, real quick though, because after you asked me, I had to go find out how to learn how to save it. Like I told you, you're my guinea pig. I did Jane once. Yeah, you were my guinea pig as far as me being the host. Usually Noelle is. But I can save it. I'll save it to our stories. So if you want to put out a post, apparently the only way you can do it, it's only for 24 hours. But if anybody wants to go listen to it, they can find it in our stories when we're done.
Cool. Sounds great.
Okay. Anyways, thank you,
Sandy.
Ryan. And I'm sure you and I'll talk on the phone.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. And thanks to everyone that joined us. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye.